actually do have a photographic memory. I just forgot to load the film. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. Today I have with me Kelsey.
You know what we gotta do today?
What?
We gotta get our ass to Mars with this one.
I thought you were going to say something different.
Oh, it was good though, wasn't it?
It was better because I was going to say exactly what I thought you were going to say at the same time as you, but I was wrong, so...
Yeah, I heard you start something and you didn't realize I'd pull it with a question.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I thought you were going to say you got a lot of nerve showing your face around here, Hauser.
Oh, I almost, I wrote that down and I just felt like this line was better for an intro.
Well, this week we questioned our reality with 1990's Total Recall. So what do you think the story was?
A guy, his name's Dennis Quaid. Was it Dennis? Douglas?
Douglas
Quaid? Dennis Quaid's an actor, huh? I did my best. Old Doug. They really just call him Quaid in the movie, to my defense.
Doug Quaid is also the name of Jonah Hill's undercover name in 21 Jump Street.
Oh, it is, yeah. She's like, I'm undercover. You're going to put my cover.
This lady tried to touch my dick.
Yeah. It's so good. Anyways, a guy, his name is Quaid, always has dreams of going to Mars, and it turns out that he's a secret agent and his mind has been erased, and he finds out through clues that his old self left for himself if this were to happen.
So as you mentioned, he's having nightmares, which is what the movie starts off with, of him being on Mars with some mystery woman, and he ends up going to a place. He sees a commercial for Recall, and it's a company that will implant memories into your head. So it's typically used for vacations. Like, if you can't afford to go on a expensive vacation, you can put these memories in your head like you've been there, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know.
It was pretty cheap, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean...
Seemed cheap.
I would do that.
Nice.
Would you not?
I don't know. I just thought at the beginning of the movie when his wife, her name is Laurie in the movie, she just keeps distracting him with sex to, distract him from thinking about Mars. And I think that at the beginning, I even thought that was weird. I've never seen this movie before. I had no idea what it was about going into it. And I just thought that her actions seemed a little off, like she had something to hide.
I think his actions were weird when they were sitting there watching the news and it was like, Mars is in unrest. There's people shooting. And he was like, let's do it. Let's move to Mars.
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah, and then she got on his lap and tried to distract him with sex, and he was, just watching Mars in the background.
Yeah, he was like, I'm late. I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Anyway, he ends up going to this Recall place. Arnold Schwarzenegger actually, he's the main character, Quaid. He took the part because he liked the idea of virtual travel, and the scene where a salesman sells him the trip, in Recall, that was one of his favorite scenes in the movie, apparently. Which, that scene is... watching it for the first time, it really ropes you in. You're like, damn, this is interesting.
I thought it was interesting, but I thought that it was also funny that he's talking with the Recall guy about the failures, and he goes, what about the guy you lobotomized? And the guy's like, that's in the past. And he's like, sure, let's do it. Yeah, he didn't care. He was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. I'd be like, somebody was lobotomized, and the guy gave no explanation. He just said it was well in the past, and he's like, oh, okay, I accept it then. Yeah. No further questioning was needed.
So they are putting together a package for him of what he wants. You get to pick, all your, custom options so that they'll implant this memory perfectly for you. And he's picking, he wants to be on Mars. He then gets to pick... where they call an ego trip, so you go to Mars as someone else, and he goes as a secret agent, and then he gets to pick a woman, and they're giving him options for the woman, and he's picking
the woman he sees in his dreams.
Yes, exactly, but they give you choices, very athletic, very sleazy, very demure.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so the memory thing apparently doesn't work. You get a scene where he's freaking out in the chair, and he's screaming about being a secret agent, and the doctor that was supposed to be implanting the memory says, this isn't gonna work. He's been to Mars before. Like, I haven't even put the memory in him. And they are like, oh shit, we need to get him out of here, pretend like he was never here, erase his memories of recall, and put him in a cab. And so next thing you know, he's waking up in a cab, and he doesn't remember that he went to recall initially, and his buddy from work like meets him outside the cab and is like, oh hey, let me buy you a drink, and immediately takes him around the corner to kill him, and is like, you shouldn't have blabbed about Mars. And the whole movie, I will say, like,
it's very Inception.
yes, you're not actually sure if it's happening, so I'm gonna speak everything as fact, but towards the end we'll talk more about that. So there's a guy named Richter that is like in charge of hunting him down now, and he kills, you know, his friend and all these people. He goes home, his wife is fucking against him, she apparently works for this agency as well. And
yeah, I will say during all of this, you know, they're calling Richter, they're calling his wife, she's a secret agent, everyone's talking about it, there's scenes like Quaid knows, and it just feels like, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
I was gonna say,
me.
It's the original Jason Bourne,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it feels exactly like that. So Sharon Stone, his wife, she has a whole scene where she tries to kill him in their apartment. Arnold Schwarzenegger was apparently so impressed by how much dedication that Sharon Stone had in training for her character role that he referred to her as the female Terminator. And to coincide with the movie's release, Sharon Stone posed nude for Playboy magazine, showing off the buff body she developed in preparation for the movie. She pumped iron and learned Taekwondo and was inducted into the Stunt Women Association as an honorary member. So she did do, like, she tried, you know?
Nice.
You know, I'm sure they had stunt doubles and shit, but she did some of it herself at least.
Yeah, yeah.
So he gets away from his wife because she's not on not on his side. Apparently she's really with Richter, the guy that's like trying to chase him down.
Yeah, but she's been sleeping with Quaid. It's a bit weird. And the big boss, what was his name?
Cohagen.
Cohagen knew that Richter and Laurie were together and still made Laurie basically pretend to be Quaid's wife and sleep with him.
Yes. And so he ends up getting a call from somebody that claims to be his friend, hands him a big-ass suitcase. There's, like, a scene with, like, a woman who just walks by, and I laughed at it. She, like, grabs the suitcase, and he walks up and is like, this is mine. She's like, I don't see your name on it. Like, just a
Yeah, she was
scene.
trying to take it. It was funny. So then he somehow got his ass to Mars.
Yeah, he gets a message in there that tells him a bunch of shit, gives him something to remove a tracker, and it tells him to get his ass to Mars. And he ends up on Mars and goes to a hotel where he's told to, like, show a card. And by showing the card, they claim he left something in the deposit box. It's just an ad for this bar. And at the bar, he sees the woman.
What's that girl's name?
Melina. He sees Melina, the woman that he's been dreaming about, and she seems to know him. And, you know, he kind of shares, like, well, I don't really know you. Like, all this stuff's happening. And, of course, you know, they get chased down there. Melina, I think it was kind of dumb. She was like, you're married? Like, when he's trying to explain to her. Like, did you hear what he said?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Why
are you getting pissed about him being married? So she fucks off for a minute, leading to him being in a room, and this doctor comes in, Dr. Edgemar, and claims, like, hey, this is all fake. You're in recall right now, living out your vacation, and something's gone wrong. You're making it up as you go now, and, you know, we're just trying to pull you out, but you have to want to come back. And he brings in Laurie and claims, like, she's also, you know, just fake. She's here to help guide you out. He ends up not believing it because he points a gun at the doctor, and the doctor has, like, a bead of sweat go down his head. So he assumes he's lying and shoots him.
Yeah.
But Melina and him, they go to the mutants. Part of this whole thing is that there's a rebellion on Mars led by these mutants because Cohagen and his company, they sell air, and there's no atmosphere on Mars. And so they're rebelling against that. And when he meets the mutants, he meets Quado, who is like a mutated twin off of this guy's stomach.
Yeah.
And Quado has like these...
It's very Rick and Morty, if anyone's seen Rick and Morty.
Well, Rick and Morty.
That's right, I know.
I think the episode is called like Total Rick Call.
It was called Total Rick Call, I think.
Either that.
Right.
If that wasn't the episode named that, they definitely have an episode named that. So, Quado touches Quaid and like looks in his memories and he sees that there's an alien reactor that is on Mars, and if they turn it on, it will create an atmosphere, so then they no longer need to buy air. And so that would obviously destroy Old Boy's business, but, you know, that's their plan, is that they're gonna do that. You know, Richter and the evil people, they show up, they kill Quado, and also shut off the air to, like, this little section of Mars where all the mutants are, called Venusville. So you see them throughout the movie, kind of until the end, where they're in that bar, and they're all, like, just laying there, kind of lifeless, like, because they're running out of air.
Mm-hmm.
And so the scene where the air is cut off was initially shot with all of them, like, gasping for oxygen, but they said that they gave the scene an unintentionally comical feeling, and the director of photography suggested to have the actors just lying there quietly while fighting to survive, to give it a more dramatic tone. But my thought is that later on, there's a scene where they're outside without air,
and they're
and that
gasping.
is not comical.
Yeah, it's not. They're gasping. The CGI is awesome.
It's real. That's why it looks like that.
Oh, you're right.
But the way they did it, I think, is great. I'm not saying it was bad, but I also think, how could it have been comical? Like, it was stressing me out to see people gasping for air.
It's also sad because there was, like, kids.
Yeah.
It did not matter. They just took the entire dome and were taking all of their air to eliminate the rebellion problem.
And
because basically, in order to live on Mars, you have to live in these domes because the atmosphere isn't livable.
Mm-hmm.
And Cohaagen owns the company that sells air, so you have to have money to be able to buy air to survive.
yeah, it's a whole fucking scam. So Quaid and Melina are captured by Cohaagen, and Cohaagen gives this whole thing where he's like, Quaid, actually, you're a double agent, and we planted you to do all this, and we wanted you to believe this. And they show him another video from himself, supposedly, and he's like, hey, you did it, good job, buddy, like, knew you were the guy for the job, like, great, now we're gonna fucking kill all the mutants, fuck them. And he is supposed to get, like, those memories put back in his head, and they were like, and we're gonna make Melina forced to love you. And, you know, obviously he's decided he doesn't want to be that way. If this truly is who he was and he was evil, he's not gonna be like that anymore. So he breaks out of the chair. I haven't mentioned it up until this point, but this is a bloody fucking movie. Like, they are brutal with some of the kills. He, like, rips the armchair off and it has a spike sticking out of it. He just stabs a guy in the neck.
He does.
But, you know, up until that point, there was plenty of, like, gun fights where people were getting huge holes blown in them. There's a random dude on an escalator, unrelated to the business, gets shot. Arnold Schwarzenegger just grabs him.
He uses him as a body shield, and he just continually gets shot, and then he turns around, and
It was like
I don't know if he
Deadpool.
uses that same guy or if he gets a different guy as the body shield.
I think it was the same guy.
When he, like, turned
throws
around,
that
and then
guy.
he throws the guy to knock them down the stairs. Yeah.
Crazy. But it is a very bloody movie. I think it's done well, I will say. Anyway, they end up getting the reactor turned on, but part of that is they get sucked out of the dome. So the three of them are, like, out there dying. Well, Cohaagen, he dies quick because he was out there first, but they're out there in the atmosphere dying while the reactor's turning on, and the reactor's, like, creating an atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And it is a grueling scene. Like, it goes on
because their eyes are bulging, their face is changing.
Yes.
All of these crazy things. And then all of a sudden, the reactor starts working, and it turns the sky blue and makes the atmosphere breathable. Yeah. What I want to say about that is pretty crazy they don't have any permanent damage from the lack of oxygen.
They definitely should. You'd think their eyes would just stay permanently popped out of their head. Like, imagine if they just looked like that for the rest of the movie. You know, they turn to each other, Melina and Quaid's like, I just had a horrible thought. What if this is all a dream? And the movie ends. Do you think it's real?
I don't know. I guess you'll find out in my sequel.
Okay. Well,
I give the movie 4.5 out of 5.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. Like,
I really, really enjoyed the movie. I think that there's certain plot holes that I was just like, certain things didn't make sense to me, but I thought the CGI was good. I thought the non-CGI stuff, while it was grotesque and gruesome, I thought it went well with the movie, and they did. If you imagine this movie made back in 1990, filmed in the 80s, and have an appreciation for, like, how far technology and stuff has come, I think that you would really like this movie.
Well, speaking of all the technology and practical effects and, you know, minimal CGI, This was one of the last major Hollywood blockbusters to make a large-scale use of miniature effects as opposed to CGI, and it was also one of the first major Hollywood blockbusters to use CGI and have it look photorealistic. Now, the only CGI in the film was there's a scene where he's walking by an X-ray machine, and it has like a skeleton.
Yes.
I thought there was going to be a fight behind that. I think in a modern movie, they would have done that, like a fight behind the CGI
Or almost like if you think of Pirates of the Caribbean when they made everybody's skeletons under the water.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You could obviously know that's CGI, but...
Yeah. And so two of the writers, Ronald Shusett and Dan O'Bannon, when they first started working on the screenplay for this movie back then, they realized the movie would be too expensive and difficult to make at the time, and they delayed working on the story and instead worked on an idea about a space monster terrorizing a spaceship crew, and that movie became Alien.
So are we doing an Alien?
We did Alien.
Total Recall crossover?
Oh, no. They could take place in the same world,
could.
I'm sure. Anyway, I rated it a 5 out of 5. Like, I really like this movie. I mean, these kind of like old stereotypical action movies, we haven't done a lot of them, but the ones we have done, like, it seems that I'm really into these movies.
Demolition Man. I think the reason I also gave it a 4.5 is, I think I said this to you too, this is a really good movie, but I don't like it near as much as I liked Demolition Man.
Yeah.
Which I know that you can't really compare movies and you can still rate two movies a 5 out of 5. I just didn't feel like it deserved it with how much more I'd liked
For sure.
Demolition Man.
So this movie, being all about memory, made me think of the Mandela effect.
Okay.
So, if you don't know what that is, specific false memories can sometimes be shared by a large group of people. This phenomenon was dubbed the Mandela effect by paranormal researcher Fiona Broom, who reported having vivid and detailed memories of news coverage of South African anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. Despite Mandela actually dying in 2013, decades after his release and after serving as president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. So, I have a few of the most famous, like, Mandela effects, and I'm going to see what you remember. So The Empire Strikes Back. Near the end of the film, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker face off, and a terrible truth is revealed to Luke with what iconic line?
Luke, I am your father.
So that's what a lot of people think. It's actually, no, I am your father. He says, you killed my father. No, I am your father.
Yeah, he probably says that. I really don't think about what he says right before that. I just think that I am your father, but you're right.
But that's what I'm saying. A lot of people have
think
said,
it's
I
Luke.
mean, even cartoons and other movies that reference that movie, they'll say, Luke, I am your father.
I probably was thinking about the Family Guy episode.
I'm just saying, like, you wouldn't be the only one. Kellogg's Fruity Sugar Cereal with Sam the Toucan as a mascot is known as Fruit Loops. How do you spell it? How do you spell fruit on the cereal?
I think it's 2 O's.
It is.
2 O's.
It is, but apparently... Or wait, no, maybe it's the other way.
No, I think it is the other way.
But a lot of people think it is 2 O's.
We just had... I don't know. Actually, I never paid attention to how it was spelled.
Well, that's one of them.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a 90s genie movie. It's a comedy about a genie who can grant wishes, played by who?
I know this. Shaq. But I think that... Isn't there another one? Oh my gosh, what's his name? And he's like,
There
too
is
bad.
Sinbad?
So sad, Sinbad. Yeah, yo
There is
dad.
not another one. Apparently, people think there's a movie called Sinbad, or called Shazam, with Sinbad playing a genie. It doesn't exist.
There's something... I know that one, though. No, I knew it was Shaq, but I have heard of that other one.
Shaq is in Kazam.
Kazam, not Shazam. Yeah,
Yes.
Kazam.
And
yeah.
see, that one never got me because for whatever reason I watched Kazam a lot as a kid.
He did. We've watched it once, and I was like, this movie's awful.
No, it's great. Okay, so Monopoly. Mr. Monopoly, pictured throughout the famous board game, is wearing fancy clothes, including or not including a monocle.
Monocle.
Nope.
1000%.
He doesn't have a monocle.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
He does. Google him. Google him.
Look it up.
I can't.
I'm just saying, later, look it up. He does not have a monocle. You're getting him confused with Mr. Peanut.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't be like, this bald bitch looks like a peanut shell.
I'm just saying, it's one of them. A lot of people think he has one. He
No.
doesn't. Okay, Snow White. When the evil stepmother in Snow White asks her mirror every day about who is the fairest, she begins with what line? Like what words?
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
That's what a lot of people think. It's actually magic mirror on the wall.
No, it's mirror, mirror.
They say it in Shrek too, right? Farquaad says, mirror, mirror, but it's not. It's magic mirror.
No, it's mirror, mirror. Thank you.
I'm just saying.
I refuse to believe it. Show me proof.
You're from an alternate reality then.
That's fine.
You're from a
We've
different
already
reality
decided.
where-
Listen, we've already decided that we live in the Matrix, and maybe viewers listeners can relate. Has anybody ever seen their neighbor bring home groceries? Because we never had until we started talking about it. And then the day that we were talking about it, we talked about it for 3 days in a row. What happened for the first time in our life? We saw our neighbor carrying groceries into their home.
The Matrix was like, fuck, they're on to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Send some groceries.
And let me tell you, we live in a large populated area now with tons of neighbors. Never once seen nobody bring no groceries home.
They don't eat.
Exactly.
They just plant people in there.
So we live in a matrix anyways.
I mean, clearly you're from a timeline that got decimated. Now you've come to my timeline, the main timeline. So sorry about your people with your mirror and your monocled Mr. Monopoly.
It is a monocled Mr. Monopoly.
In terms of sequels for this movie, there was a TV show, Total Recall 2070, though it is said not to be very faithful to the original short story that this is based off of. And Dimension Films was working on a direct sequel around 1998, but they were unable to reach an agreement with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in 2002, Minority Report was being written as a sequel to Total Recall before being reworked into a standalone film. And then, of course, a remake of Total Recall with the same title was released in 2012. But outside of that, there hasn't been really a direct sequel. So what is your sequel?
It's a direct sequel. I didn't think of a title until now, and I'm going to call it Straight to DVD, right? That's going to be a straight to DVD sequel. Not good. Okay. And it's called Totally Recalled.
Oh, man.
Yeah, guys. You buckle up. It's
Sounds like a Legally Blonde to me.
Yeah, it is. It's been 30 to 40 years since Quaid saved the mutants and the people on Mars. During this time, they've all been living peacefully. Quaid is now a retired agent and remains on Mars. He has a son that's now an agent like him. When his son goes missing, the agency comes to him and asks Quaid for help. It turns out that his son was researching the new decreases in the oxygen levels of the atmosphere they've all been breathing. Quaid starts at the source and is given access to all of the files that his son had been out researching because of the newly noticed decreasing oxygen. Turns out somebody has been slowly unplugging the alien reactor things and trying to steal the air for themselves in preparation to make things like the old days. So they're filtering the oxygen into like barrels and then taking it to a new dome, basically. Or however, they'll do it some way. They're stealing the air.
Just a long straw.
Yeah. For further researchers, he recognizes a photo of one of his son's co-agents on a case that looks a lot like someone he used to know, Richter. Once he sees it, he starts looking more and realizes it's Richter's secret son that has infiltrated the agency in an attempt to reactivate the domes and kill everyone else on Mars by slowly stealing the air to test the new domes before disengaging into the alien stuff entirely. Quaid's able to find his son and rescue him, and they come up with a plan to get the oxygen back and expose and subdue Richter. The plan goes awry when Richter catches on in a large fight. There has to be a big fight. Quaid is injured, but his son is able to stop Richter. Richter traps the son. Yeah, his son. I didn't come up with the son's name. I guess Junior.
Okay.
Traps him inside of the dome that now has decreasing oxygen levels because they stopped it. To save his son, Quaid makes a deal with Richter to give him the oxygen he needs to start his own colony. But after doing so, he tricks and subdues Richter. However, in the process, he gets locked inside the room without air and dies with Richter. His son's able to return to the agency, and they save Mars again. And then, the big twist. Quaid wakes up at Recall Incorporated, and it turns out that he has been there the entire time and he lived out his own fantasy, and his vacation ended. He only came out of his embolism once he lived the life he had always dreamed, and he goes home to Lori.
Yeah, go home to your wife and be like, oh, hey, still love you.
It hasn't been 40 years. People can live like...
In his head, though, he's spent 40 years with another woman. Now you're going to go back to your...
I mean, listen, he just goes home.
He needs a divorce. She should divorce him.
Maybe she should, but all I'm saying is I don't think it was real.
I see. I like it. It's better than mine. Mine's going to be a bit confusing.
Is mine confusing? Was it better this week?
Don't be like that.
I'm just asking.
Oh, mammy.
Don't you bust your head. Oh, don't be like that, mammy.
Okay. My title's Total Recall Deja Vu.
Oh, I like that. It's kind of like mine a little bit.
In plot?
No, in title. Well, we'll see what your plot is. I don't know.
Well, your title was Totally Recalled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, mine's called Totally Recalled, yours is called Deja Vu. Like, it's happening again.
Yeah, okay, you're right. So, we see a man, Doug Quaid, played by John Krasinski, living a mundane life and dreaming of a far-off adventure on Mars. We see a sped-up version of the events of the first film taking place in this Doug Quaid's life, but soon after we see that this was just a dream being injected into Quaid.
You spelled it quad.
Oh yeah, I did spell it wrong. I left the I out.
It's fine, it doesn't
Maybe you
matter.
shouldn't be reading my script.
I just looked up and saw injected into quad.
Scientists surround Quad as he struggles to escape. And it is revealed the first Total Recall movie, the remake, and the events at the start of this movie have all been memory injections into Quaid's mind.
Okay.
The agency is holding him captive and forcing him to play out the same events in an attempt to learn a secret that Quaid is hiding in his mind. Each time they fail, they tweak the events, resulting in different plots and actors that we've seen. The agency calls it a day and removes Quaid from the machine, throwing him in a cell. Quaid is slowly losing his sense of reality and doesn't know what the truth is anymore. All he knows is the agency cannot learn the rebel secrets they seek. Luckily, a group of rebel mutants infiltrate the facility where he's being held, and he is embraced by Melina once they enter his cell. Quaid is unsure of who to trust, but Melina explains to him that they've been searching every planet for him and that he was the leader of the rebels. Melina claims they are winning and they have been activating alien reactors on every planet to create free air, but unless they can shut down the production of the agency's new killbots, they will be able to overwhelm the rebels with an army that never needs to rest, can always be repaired, and doesn't need air to fight. Their former leader, Quado, put the map to the agency's killbot factory in Quaid's head before he died, but in order to access it, they will need to put Quaid back in the machine. Quaid reluctantly agrees and is put back into the machine. This time they have altered the machine to access real memories. We see Quaid and Quado in Quado's last moments. He tells Quaid he must destroy the facility and holds out his hand to pass on his knowledge to Quaid. This knowledge includes the map to the killbot facility as well as the secret to Quado's mind abilities. Unfortunately, Quaid is woken again to see the events we saw were another implanted memory, and the agency has acquired the secrets they wanted on how to duplicate Quado's mind abilities. However, in a classic misdirect, Quaid laughs and reveals the actual truth that he has used the mind abilities to trick them into thinking they had Quaid beaten, but it was all an illusion and the rebels are in the process of blowing up the Killbot facility, and Quaid has been free the whole time. The rebels win in the end.
Nice. I think it is confusing, but I think it's hard to tell a story without having
Visualization.
But yeah. Visualizations to see it.
Well, yeah, when you're constantly like, this is real, this is fake, it's a lot. Also, it reminded me when I said classic misdirect about my favorite part of the original movie when he uses his holograph and is like, ha 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 ha, you think this is the real Quaid? It is. He turns and shoots all those dudes.
Yeah, he does. I liked it.
Well, thank you.
It was good.
Thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Twitter. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod.
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls or let us know your idea across our socials with a comment, tweet, or you can reach us at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you're listening. If you wouldn't mind, share a show with someone, leave us a review, and come back for more. We'd love to have you and hear what we can do to improve. Next week, we are watching The Wrong Missy on Netflix. All right, take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week, and remember, your whole life is just a dream.
Ooh.